come on in. If you're watching on the rebroadcast, come on in. I see there's a live button. Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in today. This is my first opportunity to be live with you here, and I'm so honored. So thank you all for having me. Come on in, welcome. I want to spend some time today, whether you're on the replay or whether you're joining us live today, just allowing you to get to know me and getting to know you all a little bit. So I'm going to use today as somewhat of an introduction to just let you know a little bit about myself. Hi, hello. And a little short bit about myself, and then I want to, make this hour that we have together. You have so many wonderful readers and spiritual teachers on here. And I want to make our little corner unique, like all the other programs that are on here. So one of the things that we're going to do during our hour together is, get to know a little bit more just about the other side, understand about how readings really work, understand about your own intuition and your abilities to tap into the same things that we readers are doing for you. I like to spend time answering people's questions about the realities beyond this one. So today, for example, I wanted to focus on spirit guides and angels. That's what I felt intuitively guided to talk about today, was spirit guides and angels. And to allow you guys to post your questions, not only about your spirit guides and angels, but to, during our reading format, to allow you to get validation for what the guidance that your spirit guides and angels are giving you. And most importantly, I think it's super important for you yourself to be able to walk away and continue, that process for yourself, so that you know that you don't always have to depend on us to help you get those answers, but to also, be able to get off of here and say, okay, this is the validation I need coming from my guides and angels. And the more you practice these things, the stronger they become for you in your everyday life. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about myself, because this is the first time that you've seen me on here. I'm from the U.S., obviously. I guess you can hear my accent. But I was fortunate enough to live in Scotland for 4 years. So I feel really honored by that. The UK is a very magical place, full of a lot of amazing vortexes and good ancient energy and spiritual history. And I felt very honored to be able to live over there and experience that energy for almost 5 years. Let's see, this is on my phone, so your typings are a little bit small, but I'm gonna try to read in here. Good evening. Thank you guys for saying hi. I'm gonna light a little incense for us today. It does help clear the air and set the vibration. So I'm gonna put on a little bit of jasmine. So we are going to talk some about spirit guides and angels today. That's going to be our focus. But I want to let all of you know just a little bit about myself. I am a lifelong intuitive, psychic medium, and animal communicator. And I'm very connected to animals and to nature and to getting messages that way. And so one of the reasons I'm so excited to be here is because that is very second nature to me. So my everyday world is, when I look at a person or an animal, I automatically see their aura. I automatically see the energies around them. Psychic mediums, we don't know everything, but we're just in tune to the subtleties. So growing up that way, I learned to also tune things out. So I don't get too overwhelmed. But I'm also a spiritual coach. So I have a lot of clients that come to me and we work on how to not get overwhelmed with their intuitive and empathic abilities. And that's really important too. But I enjoy doing this because to me, it's just kind of a normal everyday reality. And I believe that it has had a powerful impact in my life and the ability to get through really tough times and struggles. And that's something that I want to be able to share with everyone that I speak to and that crosses my path, is to be able to take the readings that you receive and your guidance and messages and to be able to apply it practically in your everyday life. So if you can get validation and if you can walk away and be able to use the information that you're getting practically and to really help improve the conditions of your life or struggles that you're going through, I think that's really important. Good evening. Welcome. Thank you guys for tuning in. If I don't say your name, it's just because my screen is kind of small here. I had trouble getting the StreamYard up on my actual laptop today, so I'm using my phone, which is what I use typically anyway. So I want to talk a little bit about spirit guides and angels and how to tell the difference. And then I want to let you guys, post the questions that you have either about spirit guides and angels in general, or if you would like some guidance and validation, sort of like an animal angel guide reading, to help verify information that's coming through for you, or, angels and spirit guides that are trying to come through to you. It's actually not that important that we know the difference, but our egoic human cognitive mind wants to know the difference. And so I believe that the more we educate ourselves and the more that can help our awareness, then that can help deepen your understanding and sort of fine tune your own abilities. So I want to answer those questions for you today so that you can, go about your own way and start to be able to discern, okay, this is how my spirit guides speak to me. This is how my angels like to come through to me. And the more you practice that, the stronger it will become. Hello, welcome. Thank you for saying hi. So I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about, I'm going to start with the spirit guide part. Okay. So you all have around you, and I get chills as soon as I start to say this. You all have around you spirit guides and angels all the time. And you also, I'm going to refer to your loved ones who have crossed over as your loved ones who have crossed over. Now, they can also become, your guides and your guardians, but I'm going to refer to them separately so that we can sort of have three distinct categories to discuss so that you know exactly who it is we're referring to and you can identify that for yourself. Okay. So you have your spirit guides that are assigned to you and that you agree to work with before you're ever born. And you know these spirit guides eternally. Let's see. Hi there. Welcome, Julie. And these spirit guides love you unconditionally. Perhaps you've been in past lives with them. Perhaps you have been their spirit guides in other lives. But spirit guides are cool because they sort of grow up with you. And most people they forget, but between the ages of 3 and 6, they start believing that their spirit guides or their imaginary friends are just their imagination. They might be told by adults that it's just make-believe, or you just get too distracted in your own life and everything material and sensory that you sort of forget they're there. But the cool thing about spirit guides are that they can operate at a vibrational frequency more closely related to yours when you're incarnated form. So they can interact with you and sort of walk through life with you every moment of every day, every struggle you're going through. They're right there with you. And I'm going to tell you a little story about myself so you can sort of see the distinction. Angels work at a much higher frequency, right? They're more in the ethereal realms. And so they're powerful enough, they can come through to you. You can speak to them, you can call them in, they can help you. But they have very different tasks. And although they're always there and surrounding you, they're really coming from that ethereal plane. And so their tasks and their jobs with you are very different. And when you learn to tell the difference, they feel really different as well. And I'll share some of those stories with you all as well. I just want to give you guys a really good foundation for the difference. Your loved ones who cross over and who watch over you, some of them maybe you didn't even know in this lifetime. When I do mediumship readings, a lot of times people's ancestors come through, or relatives that were with them in spirit and soul before they were born, but maybe you never actually lived with them in this lifetime, in this world. So you might have a great grandparent or a great 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 grandfather that actually watches over you and protects you really closely, that loves you more than you can imagine, that might come through in a reading. And often when this happens, people say to me, well, I don't know anyone, I don't know that person. And then they go back and they look at the old photographs and they'll go, oh, that was great great grandpa. But don't forget, you were on the other side before you were here. So this is your temporary plane, right? You had a whole eternal existence before you were even in this lifetime. So you're going to have a lot of ancestors and loved ones that, yeah, in your current human form, you might not have known them here, but they're no less significant in your life. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about those. And then like I said, for those of you that just tuned in, then I'm going to take your questions. And if you guys want help and validation for the guidance that you're getting from your angels and spirit guides and loved ones, I'm going to answer those today too. Okay. So I want to tell you a little bit about my spirit guide introduction so that you can start to relate this to yourself. I have a feeling that some of you are really, you may not recognize you're aware of your spirit guides, but you actually are. You're just not cognitively thinking, oh, those are my spirit guides. But once I tell you these little stories, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, they're always there. Or I remember meeting them when I was 5. From the time I was a young girl, I had this one imaginary friend, and his name was Aiden. I did not know that was his name until I was about maybe 15 years old. Maybe I was 13. Got to look at my journals. But he grew up with me, and he always looked the same. He always had red hair. He always had like an Irish Scottish accent. I didn't know at the time what it was. He was very playful. He was very persistent to keep my attention. And I now realize that was a part of him helping me to not forget. One of my gifts, and you all have your own gifts, is that I have a very intact cosmic memory. So for me, I just feel like I dropped into this life, but I remember what it was like before I was born. I remember past lives as though it's one long stream. So for Aiden, I recognized him. I always recognized him. I may not have known exactly who he was, but he was just a real part of my life. And as I grew up, he grew up with me, always the same age that I was. When I got to be about 14, 2 other spirit guides popped in. And I mostly saw them sort of from the chest up. And if I was with friends that I had a very strong soul connection with, they were always right there with us, guiding us. Hi there. Welcome. Come on in. Just telling little stories about how I discovered my spirit guides to help all of you relate to the spirit guides in your life. So anyway, I remember my sophomore year in high school, and I finally really started looking for validation for angels and spirit guides. Like I'm a science person, so I wanted real physical validation. And I said, you've given me validation my whole life, but I need to physically see you in full form with these physical eyes. And so I remember Aiden saying to me, okay, at the right time, I'll give you this validation. So we finished lunch. I went on to English class, into the class with a teacher who really didn't like me too much. And I remember telling Aiden, okay, because he'd always bug me when I was going to class or something like that. He would never leave me alone. And I said, I have to focus on English class now. Oh, thank you guys. I'm glad you're enjoying this. This is my everyday life, guys. So, you know, it can be your everyday life too. I don't know if you want it to be, but anyway, so I had this little teeny tiny, adorable English teacher. She was Italian and she was very emotional and very sensitive. And one of the things you didn't want to do in her class was ask to leave. She'd literally cry. She'd get upset at you and she'd cry. And so I remember I just gone to the bathroom after lunch. I sat down, got ready for English class, and I told Aiden, we'll talk after class. And he said, no, you have to come talk to me now. And I said, I'm in my head. I'm sitting in class now. I said, I can't. Next thing you know, I had to pee more than I've ever had to pee in my entire life. And there was no holding it. And so my hand shot up and I had to ask her to go to the bathroom. And of course, she made a big stink over this. But here's the thing. I was so mad at my spirit guide. I was so shy. I was so humiliated. And she said in front of everyone, you just had lunch. Why didn't you go before you got to class? And I knew she was going to make a mockery of me. But, you know, I walked out of that class. And for once, and this brings tears to my eyes to remember this, there was no one in the hallway. And I walked down that hallway livid with Aiden. But when I got to the corner and it opened up into this big forum, there was my incredibly magnificent spirit guide, Aiden, who had been with me from, I remember him at 2.5 years old when I first started having memories. 6'2", beautiful bright red hair, stunning blue eyes, standing in full form like a person for my physical eyes to see. And I kid you not, my heart skipped a beat and tears started streaming down my face. From that point on, of all the validation I had needed, that's what he gave me. And from that point on, he stayed there for about 2 to 3 minutes. But my faith and my confidence in my own abilities and interactions with my spirit guide became so solid, thanks to the fact that I had pre-programmed myself to have a strong cosmic memory, that my spirit guide had not left me alone to make sure I didn't grow up and forget who he was. And so he could bring the other spirit guides in. And he explained to me, now I only have, about 3 minutes because it takes a lot of energy for me to stay at a vibrational speed at which you can actually see me this fully. But he did it. And I was ever so grateful. Yeah, doesn't it give you chills? Me too. It still gives me chills to this day. And so I want to share this with all of you because it became part of my mission as I began sharing things with people and teaching. It became part of my mission to encourage those that I read for, those who are my friends and my family and my colleagues, to really ask for validation. It may not come when you want it. It may not come the way you want it. It may not come the way you expect it. But it is a partnership with spirit. And so this is where life being like a game of chess, where you have to also believe and have faith in it. You have to let go. A big part of it is asking and then letting go and trusting them. And from that point on, I was never really angry or irritated when my spirit guides interrupted me. Because one thing you can always be sure of, whether it's angels, whether it's spirit guides, whether it's loved ones who have passed on, including your pets, guys. We're going to have a whole episode on animals and animal totems and animal guides. They have access to universal source information that our cognitive human brain and our mind block out so that we can have this beautiful human experience. And so our lives wouldn't be the same if we had access to everything all the time. But they do. They can see where we're headed. They can see what we need to learn, what our mistakes are. They can see from a place that is outside of space and time. So they're not thinking the same way we are. So how would I have known that the hallway was going to be completely empty, right? So anyway, that's my quick spirit guide story. And I want you guys to think about, where are there little times where maybe I've been in the shower or driving in the car, or I've been taking a walk where I feel something unusual. Maybe it's something that's been trying to get my attention. Because truth be told, your spirit guides were able to get through to you till you were at least the age of 3. And after that, when your prefrontal cortex started to take over, your thinking mind started to take over, it was a lot easier to kind of believe that stuff wasn't true. But if you can find a happy medium and a good balance, it's so supportive of your practical everyday life. I'm glad you guys liked that story. Let's see. How can you bring your spirit guides forward? Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the things, the most important thing is to simply, and I don't like the term be open because I feel it's overused, but find the meaning that be open has for you, is to be open and be curious, right? So one of the best things to do when we're judging something is to replace it with curiosity. The same thing is true for strengthening your intuition. So all psychic ability is just advanced intuition, and you all have good intuition. So if you can first start to listen to your intuition, and part of that means being aware that your thoughts are just your thoughts. They're not reality. They're just your thoughts. And belief is just repeated thoughts, right? So that's the mindset coach in me. But this is also what I'm being asked to share with you. Once you can do that, then you can start to tell the difference between your intuition and your thoughts. And sometimes you really need your critical thinking thoughts. You know, you're at an intersection with 8 different people and people that aren't using your blinker. You better, use your critical thinking skills. But if your intuition comes in and says, turn left, turn left, turn left, that needs to be able to come to the surface, right? Our mind usually shoves that to the back. So if you want to tune into your spirit guides, you have to start tuning into your intuition and also speaking to them. So this is the second thing you can do. Talking with them and interacting with them. Okay, so ask them for questions. Hold on, I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose this comment. You want to start talking to them and asking for validation. And guys, you can do this with loved ones and angels as well. Ask them to repeat things. Okay, so ask them to, say, okay, guys, I really feel stuck here. Should I do this or should I do this? Okay, now keep in mind, they may not give you the answer, but what they will do is they'll guide you as to what you need to do to get the answer. And that's a challenge that I find when people come for readings, a psychic reading. They want to be told what to do. And I always tell people before they get a reading with me, don't ask me what to do. That's not what Spirit wants to tell you. Spirit wants to guide you as to what you need to do in order to get the answer. Okay. Hold on. I want to get to all your questions, but let me finish this other question here. So talking to them, and you can even say to them, keep it coming, guys. You might have to hit me in the head. Make it very obvious, right? The third thing you can do is ask them for validation that they're there. I would start with that. I would say, look, guys, I need to know you're really real with me. If you're really there with me, give me a sign and make it really obvious. And I want you guys to know something. Even if you think that you can't hear them or you're not sensing them or you're not there, I promise you that they are, because everyone has at least one spirit guide, several angels, and countless loved ones looking after you. Every person and animal. So just keep talking to them. And as you practice this, and your focus is becomes stronger on that, just the way it is strong with your thoughts, the more easily they'll be able to come through. I know I missed a couple of questions here. I'm going to try to get everybody's questions. Then I want to go into angels too. Let's see. Let's see. What do spirit guides do for us? Well, they help you get through your practical everyday life. They help you get through life's challenges. So a good example of what a spirit guide does is it's sort of like it's like a cheerleader, right? They're with you all the time. So they might be, let's say you're like I had a flat tire today, okay? And for 2 weeks now, my spirit guides have been telling me, you're going to get a flat tire on this road. It's called Edwards Road. You're going to get a flat tire on this road. You're going to get a flat tire on this road. I listened, and it helped me today because right before I got on the highway, when I turn on to Edwards, I heard put, 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 put. I had opened the window. I just felt like I needed to open the window. That was my spirit guides getting me to open the window. And I heard put, 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 put. And I pulled over right before I got on the highway, and my tire was flat. Thank God I didn't get on the highway. Okay. So they help us with things like that. But here's the thing. We don't always listen, do we? We don't usually listen. So what your spirit guide does is it'll say like, don't go in that parking lot. You're going to get hit today. Don't go in that parking lot. And you do, and you get hit. And then they go, okay. Make sure you get their insurance card. Make sure you get their insurance card. And then let's say you don't do that. And they just keep guiding you. So it's like you're walking across the path and they'll go, go left, go left, go left. And you don't want to. Sometimes you even hear what they're saying and you just don't want to. I do that all the time. I'm like, nah, I want to do this. And then you mess up and you do that. And guess what? They're right there to say, okay, they're like a GPS system. Here's the next thing you can do. Let's do this now to fix that, right? Let's do this to get you back on track. And they can keep their vibrational frequency close enough to yours that they can constantly engage in your everyday life like that. Okay. Let's see. I'm glad you're enjoying this. I know I missed a couple questions on there. I'm sorry, guys. I'm super, super thorough. So I will answer a full question before I get to another one. Let's see. Will you see your guide? Let's see. Will you see them in different places? So I see my spirit guide. It can be different for everyone. For me, it sort of becomes a second sense. And I think for each of you, you're going to have to feel that on your own. Some people, I usually feel my spirit guides. It depends on how they want my attention. I don't want to say I always see them next to me. My spirit guides are usually all around me. Sometimes they're in front of me. Sometimes they're next to me. For me, it's more a difference in frequency, just like with a person. When you're sitting next to different people, they just feel different. And so that's how I sense and see if it's an angel or a spirit guide or a loved one with me. So what I would advise is, you guys have heard of the clairs before, right? Clairsentient, clairaudient, clairvoyant. And the thing is that you all have all of them. But you want to start with the one that's strongest for you. So for me, for example, they're all very strong with me. And so it's a partnership between, like, if I'm doing a reading for someone and, like, say it's someone's guide or angel coming in or someone's loved one that passed on, they all have their own way of communicating as well. So if it's loved ones that have passed on, for example, they might struggle as soon as they get to the other side to relearn how to communicate. And they may have to communicate differently for each human person that they talk to. So for me, sometimes it's visual, sometimes it's auditory, sometimes it's feeling, sometimes it's just my mind's eye. I usually get at least 2 or 3 of those at a time. With my spirit guides, it's usually everything. But if I'm focused, let's say on driving or on a project or having a difficult conversation with someone, it usually becomes feeling and auditory. because I'm usually focusing on driving with my eyes, or focusing. And I almost always get my third eye activated. So my suggestion for you is figure out what is the strongest way that your intuition comes through. What is the strongest way that you tend to get intuitive messages? And start with that. And then let's say, for example, you start to hear your spirit guide's voice. And, you can tell if you're getting spiritual messages. Like I said, it doesn't really matter if it's your angel, spirit guides, or loved ones, but people like to know the difference, and it can enhance your own abilities. So, if you start to hear, let's say you're clairaudient and you hear spiritual advice, guidance, you can go ahead and ask for something else. You can say, okay, can you show me? And you might start to see in your mind's eye an image or a vision, or you might start to feel something. You say, okay, how am I going to feel if I do this? Or, show me that you're really there. And you might feel a warmth in your body, or you might feel the most common things people feel are warmth or cool air or something brush against them or chills. Or you might feel inner body sensations, like, your heart might start to beat, or you might feel like you want to tear up and cry. Let's say if you think of a loved one that passed on, it means their electromagnetic energy is right there with you, right? Or you might feel a warmth or a tickle in your stomach. Those are all things that can show you that they are present. Let's see. Here, I gotta look at this. It's hard for me to read on my phone. Oh, thank you for sharing. Yeah, that is so beautiful. Sorry, guys, it's so teeny on my phone. I couldn't get a StreamYard on my computer today, so I had to use my phone, and it is so teeny. That is absolutely beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Joanne. So I know I missed a couple questions. Let's see. Let's see. Will spirit guides help you to develop your clairs? More you practice? Yes, absolutely. They will, and they are absolutely delighted. They are delighted to help you with that, because you are a spiritual being first. You are conscious electromagnetic energy that is eternal first. You're a part of source, right? So your current temporary dream of this human life is just one of countless experiences that you will have in your existence. So since we have this temporary amnesia so that we can have these amazing life experiences as human beings, there are things we have to forget, right? You don't want to come back and, maybe some of you don't believe in past lives, but if you do, you don't want to come back and be dragging 100 past life memories with you if you don't need them, right? You want a fresh start to come and play and learn. If you come back and you're here with people that, souls that maybe you've had all these other difficult, challenging lifetimes with, maybe even you've been enemies with some of these people so you could learn things, and now you're in a loving family with them, right? You don't want to drag that with you. So this forgetting when we're born each lifetime allows us to have this freedom to come and have a fresh, clean slate, because when we're back on the other side, we don't have that ego veil. So we don't have the resentment. We don't hold on to all that stuff, right? We're loving, and we're free of that. So spirit guides love to help you. And that's part of their job, is to help you with your spiritual awakening, to help you be here and be free of the egoic aspects of the mind and learn to use your mind as a tool instead of allowing your mind to drag you through life and run your life, right? You want your life to be spiritually driven by the soul that you are, right? You came here with a purpose and a personality and So then you add on top of that the personality and the background and all the programming that your human brain has in this life. And you have a whole mix of things, right? But in essence, you want to be the truest version, the best version of yourself here in physical form. And your spirit guides know you so well. They know you better than you know yourself. And they can tell, what you're going to do, what your tendencies are. And so the very best thing they can do is help you be the best version of yourself, right? So that is an awesome question. And again, guys, if for some reason I know I'm missing questions, if I miss questions, please write them down and save them for next week. I will get to them. I want to, while we have enough time, quick share with you the angel story. And so you can start to tell the difference between your spirit guides and angels. Okay. You are all able to call on the heavenly angels, the archangels, absolutely anytime that you want to. They can be anywhere and everywhere. Okay, so your spirit guides are assigned to you and only you. They are yours for your lifetime. Okay, and they only care about you. They don't care about me. They're focused on you. That is their task. Your angels, however, angels like the archangels, they can be everywhere at once. And as we have more programs, I'm going to share with you guys how to get in touch with and invite the archangels in, how to have your own full-on angel experiences, because they are, no pun intended, out of this world. But when you focus on something, you go there. Right? So if this week you decide, I really want to focus on this relationship with my spirit guides, that will begin to strengthen. If next week or next month you say, I want to really focus on getting to know the archangels or getting to know my angels so that I can learn to tell when they're there, then you can do that and you'll start to have more angel experiences. But the angels work at a much higher frequency. And so oftentimes it is harder for us to see them or sense them. But just like our spirit guides, they can see us and know what we're doing and feeling and thinking all the time. Not in a creepy way. They have an idea of what is going on with us. And they need that in order to protect us, right? So their job is to guide us, to protect us energetically, to maintain our beautiful golden thread connection that we have with Source. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. I'm glad the answer helped you. My pleasure. This is my favorite thing to do. So your angels are just absolutely freaking, they're just amazing. And it's one of those things that each experience that you can have will be unique to you. Because you're going to have to perceive them, obviously, through your human form, right? I remember way back when I started doing readings like professionally, and I decided I wanted to dedicate 1 week to each of the 4 main archangels. There's more than 4, but the 4 main archangels. And I spent a week with each one. And it was absolutely phenomenal. And I asked them to validate their presence to me. And I remember cleaning out my basement, and I was working on, it was my week to work with Raphael. And I was cleaning out paperwork. And I picked up a pile of paper, I'm not kidding, that was that big from my old house. And I picked it up. Now, I'm a realist, guys. I grew up with a biologist father. I am a scientist, okay? So I don't foo-foo things lightly. If you were to sit down and do a reading for me, I probably wouldn't believe you, okay? I need validation. So I picked up the paper, and I kid you not, there was no fan, no breeze. The whole pile of paper flew up in the air, went all over the room, landed on the ground, and on the very top was a little cutout picture of Archangel Raphael with a little quote on it. And that was the beginning of him, the very beginning, the tip of the iceberg of my Raphael week, with him saying, yeah, I'm right here for you. Look what I can do. So the angels can make themselves known to you. But I want to share something very important to you that relates to archangels and spirit guides and your loved ones who have passed on. Please remember that you have free will, and that is universally respected. It is a sacred gift of power that we have as human beings and as souls. It is such a beautiful gift that Source gives us free will. And your spirit guides, your loved ones, your angels, they must and they will respect that. And one of the ways this makes life difficult, we think, for us, is that people are constantly praying in ineffective ways. They're asking for help in a very disempowered way. When we're desperate, right? I've done it 1,000 times. Oh my God, please help me. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, the thing is that a lot of times we kind of talk to ourselves, but we really don't want to change things. And you have to really authentically give them permission to help you, or have an authentic cry or plea for help for them to help you. And that's one of the things that the angels do, is they will swoop in and they will protect you, because sometimes if it's life or death, they have that pre-given permission to help you. Okay? Not always. But for the most part, we have to give them permission. I'm not ignoring you guys. I want to get through this and then I'll answer your question. I just want to give you an example so you guys can relate this to yourself. Very rarely have I used this, asking the angels for help, when I've really needed it, desperately needed it, ever. But I remember way back being in a relationship that I should not have been in, with an actually amazing man, but he was having a hard time and he had lost his temper. And he had never hurt me. I had always been protected, but he was very upset. He was half asleep. And I remember him waking up angry the night before we left for a trip. And he was screaming at me walking through the house. And so I walked down the hall, through the bedroom, into the great room. And the great room it was down a step. And we had this enormous mirror with no edges, which is very dangerous. Don't ever do that. Leaning at a 45, well, kind of not 45, but like this against the wall. It had been there for a year while we redid the bathroom. I had danced. I had done martial arts in there. Nothing had ever happened in that room. But that particular night, I knew he was going to throw me out the bedroom window. I just knew it. And as I walked down the step to the great room, and there was nothing else in that room except a suitcase, he walked in and he threw a suitcase at me, and there was a window there. And I remember curling up in a ball and covering my head and going, oh God, help me, because I knew I was going out the glass and out that window. And I looked up, and the second I said, God help me, I swear there was the biggest angel right there in that room. And until I said, God help me, it was like almost just a regular human-sized presence right there, kind of rooting for me, kind of like, don't do this, do that, kind of just waiting for me to ask for help. And as soon as I asked for help, that energy expanded. And I looked up, and I'm not happy that this gentleman got hurt. But in order to stop him, I watched that mirror go up from the wall on its own, fall forward, knock him over. It broke, and it pinned his hand to the floor, literally, with a piece of glass that big. Now, that was not funny. We had to take care of him later. That was his own karma. But the point is that angel stopped him from throwing me out that window. Now, normally we don't have to do things that extreme, and I had no idea asking for help would have those repercussions, right? But the angels will help you if you ask them. So if you feel that you're asking and you feel like you're not getting answers, every prayer is heard, guys. If you don't feel like your prayers are being answered, you're either not seeing the ways that are being shown to you because you're trying too hard to hear the answer, or you are maybe not asking the right question, but they're always responding to you. they're always coming through and helping you, right? But they will always serve in a way that is best for everyone, right? So in that circumstance, you might say, well, that doesn't sound best. He got hurt. But you have to understand that he also had free will. He was making a choice. Had he thrown me out the window, the repercussions for him would have been much worse than a trip to the emergency room, right? He would have been in big trouble. So, you got to understand that the forces that be know things better than we do. They know the outcomes better than we do. Okay, so you can, with angels, for you, it might be that they affect something physical in your life like that, but it might also be that, you have to look inward. Like with Archangel Uriel, the week that I spent with him, it was a very internal, intrinsic process. And so sometimes the angels speak to you from the inside out. I want to quick tell you one more cool thing, and then we'll get into your loved ones as well. Sometimes, like with Archangel Michael, during my week getting to know Archangel Michael, I was woken up by this amazing, enormous presence in my room at about, I think it was about 3:30 in the morning. And what I woke up to was this brilliant, oh my gosh, like indigo blue and purple colors that are hard for me to even describe. They were blues and purples and golds and whites, and it was sparkling. And he was standing right there so that I could see him. And then as his energy dissipated, there were all these twinkles and sparkles everywhere that I could see with my real eyes, and I could never forget it. But each and every experience for you guys is sacred and unique and special. And if you ask, and then you're open to receiving however it is it needs to come to you, you will receive those, that validation. Okay. And just like with the spirit guides, it'll get stronger the more you practice it. Okay. So now with your loved ones that have passed on, I think this is important. I talk a lot because so much comes through to me so quickly. So I have to kind of sort it all out. But I want to make sure you guys know the difference, because with your loved ones that have crossed over, they're always there with you as well. And for the first 3 days after they've passed, they can keep their vibrational frequency much more earthbound. So it's a lot easier for them to visit, interact with you. They usually make their rounds because it's easy for them to come very loudly in dreams, or show up so you can see or feel them, or move things, or flicker lights. They can do that later as well. But they kind of have to go through a process afterwards of learning how they can get through to you. So those first 3 days are really powerful after they've crossed on, for them to make sure, and they do make an effort to try to get through so that they're there and they're okay. Let's see. Sorry, I've got to hold this again for a second. Let's see. Is it all right? Let's see. Oh, so if a spirit guide communicates through you, but using your own voice, not theirs. Oh, absolutely. So that is such a good question. Is it all right if the spirit guides communicate through you, but using their own voice? Yes. So whether you are using whether it's just you, like your own intuition, or a medium, or even someone else, sometimes they might use someone else. Have you ever had like 3 signs of something? You go to the gas station and then someone says something to you, and then you check out at the grocery store and someone says the same thing to you, and then you talk to a friend or your mom on the phone and she says the same thing. They can get through to you that way as well. So they will use whatever means necessary. One of the things, as you get better with this, just like you need to learn to distinguish between your cognitive thoughts, your cognitive reasoning, and your intuition, You can also learn to distinguish between your intuition and your spirit guides, right? So oftentimes they will speak to you through your intuition, right? So your intuition is really your higher self. I don't like that term, but we have to use words, right? It's your eternal wise self that you are, right? It's you being your own spirit guide. So your spirit guides might be able to get through to your higher self. They may be really able to resonate with the real being that you're not always cognitively thinking, right? Because 95% of your thoughts, guys, like, are in your subconscious mind. So you're actually only aware of 5% of your thoughts. So, you might be thinking, oh, this is really stupid, I don't believe in this stuff. But your intuition might be saying, but it's true, right? This sounds familiar. This sounds right. This sounds resonant. This resonates with me. Okay, so your spirit guides will often speak through your intuition. Your loved ones, what they will do when they get on the other side is they might communicate very differently with you than they do your sister or your brother or your mom or your aunt or your dog, because you might relate to them differently. And when we do mediumship, we're just interpreters, basically. So when I have souls come through, or animals or spirits or angels or spirit guides, it's like everyone has a different language, right? So it doesn't even matter if a person speaks a different language. They're speaking in vibrational frequency, just like that's what my voice is right now. So that's why sometimes, every medium and psychic is different, but sometimes we have to ask questions for validation. Like I might say something to someone and then say, does that make sense to you? Can you relate to that? Because if they show me an apple, but I don't know what an apple means, I might have to say to someone, what does an apple mean to you? It doesn't mean I'm scamming you. It means, they're putting that together in a vibrational image for me, and I have to translate. I'm having a side conversation with them. So I might have to say, okay, what does the apple mean? Show me more. And some spirits can do that easily, or they can tell me easily. Some spirits can communicate so that I can say verbatim, word for word, what they're saying. But with some souls, it's not that way. On my end, I might have trouble interpreting where they're coming from, or I might have to get there a roundabout way. So you're exactly the same way, right? So you might have a loved one that knew that you loved butterflies. Okay, if your loved one knew you loved butterflies and knew that you would recognize them, then they will use butterflies to come through. You might have a loved one that loved owls. So instead of coming to you in butterflies or cardinals, they might come to you in the form of an owl. And what you want to look for is things that are, number one, repeated. So repeated signs, whether it's angels, spirit guides, or loved ones crossed over. The spirit will repeat things lovingly. So like if it's your self-criticism, for example, you might be really hard on yourself and it might feel negative and you might have repetitive worry. But if it's spirit, an angel, a spirit guide, or a loved one trying to give you a heads up or warn you about something, they're going to gently and beautifully and lovingly say, you may not want to do that, or you may want to find a different way, or don't take the highway today. Don't take the highway today. Don't take the highway today. Things like that. Okay. And that's how you can start to recognize if it is, just your mind worrying and making things up, or if it's actually coming from spirit. Let's see here. Boy, the hour goes so fast. Let's see. Oh, there we go. That was the same question. Okay, got it. I know I missed some questions today. So if you guys want to start interacting with your loved ones and spirit guides, one of the other things you can do is know that in your dreams, your loved ones do visit you in your dreams. You're not going to remember every visitation that you have, because most of our dreams we actually don't remember. And there are visitations and there are dreams, and then there's just astral play. And every time you sleep, if you sleep 2 hours or more at a time, you have the freedom to go off into the astral plane. Some people can do that on less than 2 hours, but a lot of people need to get in a certain depth of their sleep cycle. So you might not remember them, but you might wake up thinking about that loved one. Or you might wake up feeling a little more inspired that day, or maybe a little sad, or really missing somebody, or wanting to go, visit the house they lived in, or pull out the Afghan that they made. And these are all clues that you have spent time with them. You might feel refreshed and joyful, maybe the way you used to when you used to interact while they were living. But these are all signs. And speaking of signs, your loved ones try to find signs. They try to speak to you in signs until you can have more of an open dialogue, and it's easier for you to have that interaction. Once you have, it's more familiar to you. Like for me, this is like, it's as real to me as interacting with my husband or my animals, right? It's different, but it's just as much a part of my reality. So, as the more you practice, the stronger it becomes. Eventually, you might not need signs to know your loved ones are there. You might just simply be able to say, well, what do you think, Grandma? And remember, they're not there to tell you what to do. And that's something I'm very clear about when people come to me for readings. They're not there to tell you what to do. They're there to help you be the best version of you and live the best, most fulfilled, joyful life that you can, learning what you're here to learn, doing what you're here to learn. And that means growth, right? They're not up there to do the growing for you. They're there to support you in becoming stronger and confident and joyful and free. And so they're always going to give you the guidance that leads you to self-empowerment. Let's see. So we only have a couple of minutes left. I'm looking to see if there's any other questions. I know I missed some questions and I don't want to do that. So again, if you jot them down and get to them, we'll get to them next week. We have a lifetime's worth of fun things to talk about. And what I'd like to do is next week, I'd love to talk about your animal guides and totems as well. And I think we'll probably do that because I know a lot of you had some questions today about angels, spirit guides, and loved ones that I didn't get to. And I also want to do little like mini readings for you where you can say, hey, I have, I keep getting this sign or this message and I'm not sure who it's from, or I think it's urging me to do that. How do I know? I want to be able to help walk you guys through that. I want to do some readings in that way to actually help you get validation and to interpret what it is you're getting so that you can be confident without a reader saying, oh, okay, I know now every time this pops up, this is mom, right? So start with asking for validation. Start with, looking for things that are repeated, looking for who did the signs and messages that keep popping up and repeating themselves, who do they remind you of? And if you still your mind, the first answer that comes to your mind will be the accurate one. So when I do readings, or even when I sit here with you guys, I have to disappear, right? So my egoic mind has to go into the back so that I can just filter and channel what spirit is guiding me to do and to say. And so if you guys get real quiet and maybe you focus on your breath and then ask the question, that first answer that pops up is, before you start overthinking, is the one. Okay. All right. We have 30 seconds left. So I want to thank Veronica for helping me to allowing me to be on here. I'm so totally honored, and Stace for making sure the program was running smoothly and getting me on here today. And each and every one of you beautiful souls that joined me today, I'm so honored. And I look forward to seeing you all next Tuesday. Bye, everyone.